Good morning, everyone. I'm Greg, and we're here with our usual crowd of wonderful supporters. Today, we're going to have a fantastic presentation by Michael Swinwood. Michael's presentation will be on how the ancestors are arranging things. But before we begin with that, we'll introduce Koryanka, who will do a grounding meditation for us, just to get us in the spirit of things. Koryanka?
Okay, wonderful. Let's get started. I want to invite everyone to please close your eyes if you want to, or perhaps soften your gaze. And let's go within with the intention to ground ourselves and also relax our bodies and soften our energy. We're going to take 3 deep breaths through the nose and then out through the mouth. One more time. And once again. And we'll start scanning our bodies for any tension there might be, starting at the head. We'll do this together. We'll just observe without making any judgment out of it. Scan the crown of your head, the back of your head, your face, your neck, your shoulders, one arm and then the other, all the way down to your hands. Now your back, from the neck all the way down to the final bone of the spine. You can focus your attention now on your chest and your abdomen. Are there any sensations so far? Any muscle tension? Just observe it for now. Continue with your right leg and foot, and then the left leg and foot. Whether you found any tension or not, all is well. If you found tension somewhere in your body, let it go gently by visualizing that it is a white cloud that slides down your body all the way down to the feet, leaving your body through the soles of the feet. Perhaps there will be many clouds of tension leaving your body, and that is great. You're letting them go. You can feel good about it. Once tension is out of your body, it will be gone and transformed into life-giving energy. Let's take a deep, relaxing breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let it feel good. you can stretch your body and make sure you are comfortable wherever you are. You are a beloved child of the earth, deeply connected to her. Notice how your feet are planted on the ground, either physically or energetically at all times. Feeling the earth with the soles of your feet. Feel how your energy grows and extends itself from the soles of your feet towards Mother Earth. You are growing energetic roots that go into the moist, rich soil under your feet, uniting you with the Mother, receiving nourishment and love from her. The more your roots extend and go deeper and deeper into the earth, the more you feel deeply grounded and held in love by Mother Earth. Stay present in this moment. You can feel it. Remain grounded and present in this moment. Grounded and present. Grounded and present. You can gently go back to your breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And one more time. Now you can slowly open your eyes when it feels good to you and move your body slowly as you come back, very gently.
Thank you. Thanks, Koryanka. And welcome back, everybody. So we're excited to share this presentation with you, featuring our facilitator, Michael Swinwood. And we also welcome those who are watching us on the recording, which we'll be putting up afterwards. Michael, to introduce him, well, there's a lot to say, really. Michael's a lawyer in Canada. Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, you were called to the bar in 1974?
Correct.
Oh, I got it right for once. Michael does various kinds of law, but in particular, particularly over the last 20 or 30 years, has been focused on helping Indigenous individuals and Indigenous nations fight for their rights in this country and around the world. He currently is working with a group called the Amoqua, and they're an Algonquin nation, one of the first that was sort of recognized by those who came here from Europe. And he spent, I think, the last 3 or 4 years really working with them to have their rights recognized by the Canadian government and by people. And today, Michael is going to discuss with us something that I think relates to the Indigenous equation, and that is how the ancestors have really set the stage for where we're at today. So Michael, go ahead. And what I'll just say is that people are welcome to ask questions, jump in and pick Michael's brain. And also, if you're not comfortable talking, certainly enter your questions in the chat. Michael?
Thank you, Greg. I apologize for my voice right off the bat. It has a tendency to be a little rough at this point. but hopefully it'll last the hour. I welcome everyone to jump in at any time that I'm going through this. If you are impulsed to something that I say to raise your own thoughts, please go right ahead, put your hand up, or just give an indication that you want to say something. There's a couple of principles that I think are important to keep in mind in the topic. The ancestors are arranging things. The first and most important aspect to keep in the forefront of your mind is that you live in eternity. You live in eternity. And what does that mean? Well, eternity is a long time. My view of it is that we are cyclical, that everything goes in cycles, and that we, like this, the wheel of samsara, for the human beings on the Mother Earth, they go around the wheel of birth and rebirth, birth and rebirth, birth and rebirth, on and on and on and on, in infinity. In infinity, my observation is the way that things are arranged is that you as an individual soul have the opportunity of evolving, of raising your consciousness, of starting off where you are and eventually becoming Joan of Arc, Jesus, Buddha, Kuan Yin, you name it. The personages that we know who have advanced in a spiritual way started out just like you and I. We all start out the same way, and we evolve according to a divine plan. And you are connected to that divine plan. There is no such thing as death. Death doesn't exist. There is something called transition, that we do transition from one dimension to another dimension. In the spiritual traditions, they call this time between death and your next rebirth as the bardo, not Bridget Bardot, but the same word, bardo. And within it, well, some people would like to be in eternity with Bridget Bardot. So there you go. That's a male perspective, by the way. But the thing is that this transition period from what we call death to rebirth can last different levels of time. It can last very quickly. In other words, the rebirth period is quick and you're back in life, or it can be very extended. You can be in the bardo for a long, long time. The idea is that you are there for your evolution. So you are learning from others at a higher level, at a higher spiritual level than maybe you were learning on the Mother Earth. And you're being prepared for your next adventure or your next mission, Each of us holds a piece of the cosmic puzzle that when we put our piece in the cosmic puzzle, we begin to complete the divine plan. So each and every one of us has a meaningful existence. Each and every one of us has a mission that is either accomplished in this life or alternatively is worked on and then continued to be worked on in the bardo and then continued to be worked on when you rebirth. I'm going to take William Commanda as my example of the ancestors arranging things. And what I'm going to talk about here is that there are interplays and intersections that occur that sometimes we see very clearly, and other times we don't even see, they're so subtle. So that the level of input that's coming to a human being is quite vast. It's beyond what you see, what you hear, what you think, all of those kinds of things. It's beyond the physical senses. And it comes through that thing called intuition. And everything is energy. Absolutely everything is energy. And so within the concept of intuition is a higher level energy, a higher level communication that occurs and happens to every human being. And this is one exhibit, or exhibit A, in fact, of the existence of others in another dimension who are aware of your existence, who are aware of where you're going and your mission, and they're there to help you from the other side. And that help comes through this medium of intuition. You've all experienced it. Every one of you has experienced the idea that you hear something, and it's not necessarily you hearing it, you sense it. Something comes into your computer brain, and it's not your own thought. It's something known as inspiration, in spirit. That's what inspiration is, in spirit. The more that we open our hearts and open our minds to the existence of something much vaster than ourselves, then we open up ourselves as a receptor. And the job of a receptor is to begin to identify the obstacles to reception. Begin to identify those things that stand as blockages to bringing in the message that is designed for you and you personally. You know, I didn't prepare a thing for this talk today, not a thing. And therefore, this is exhibit B of the ancestors are arranging things because they're speaking through me. I've opened myself up to listen to what is going to come through my mouth, and I'm going to hear it for the first time, just like you. But that has everything to do with the idea that I am open to the idea of guides. That is because I am open to the idea of messages being transmitted. And that's because I'm open to the idea that William Commanda continues to exist. How many times in your life, if you had to reflect on your own existence, how many times in your life have you said, how the hell did that happen? How the hell did that happen? You know, I can give you a few examples of my own existence. Susan said to me this morning, what's your proof that the ancestors are arranging things? And I said, I'm still alive. So that's proof. I brought myself into many situations that were dangerous. I brought myself into situations that almost took my life, but for something intervening that changed the direction of the way things were going. Because, as they would say, it's not your time. It's not your time. So the essence of our existence is rich, rich, rich. In terms of guides, in terms of those who are on the other side, who are absolutely interested in seeing your soul's evolution. They're absolutely engaged in your soul's evolution. There's no accident that I met Susan Hagar. It's not an accident that when we got together, we were so simpatico, it was ridiculous. There's no accident that we've been together over 30 years and that we were directed from another source in relation to pursuit of spirituality, leading us down the same path, if you will. Susan has a different look and a different perspective, and I have a different look and a different perspective. But in the end, they meld together and they become a path, and they become one direction. And you feel the influence of those who have passed. Susan, for instance, relationship with her father who passed away many years ago is real. It's very strong. They communicate on a daily basis. So this idea that there is in existence those who have passed, who are actually within life, but within a different dimension, within a different transition form, they are continuing to be engaged in your existence and where you are going. When we met William Commanda in Allura Swinwood was 20 days old. She's now 27 years of age. So in that 27 years, 16 of them were with William Commanda in existence in this life. And since 2011 until now, he continues to be within our existence, within our life, within what we're doing, all of the things that happen. It's as if when we first met William Commanda, he knew he was going to teach us forever. It's a forever thing by virtue of the idea that, for instance, all of us here, we're a group soul. We belong to the soul group that we came from. The reason that we're all together is because the ancestors are arranging things. How did Kavita find us? How did we find each other? We all found each other in a particular way. And if you reflect on it and you begin to look back on it, you will see the subtle signs of being pushed, being led, being guided to do certain things. And this is a silent thing. It's not, you're not going to get it on the television. It's not going to come, oh, by the way, Gail, we want you to X, right? It's not going to happen that way. But you know how it's going to happen. It's going to happen by virtue of your relationship to spirit. And within your relationship to spirit comes about the opening of that communication. All the ascended masters that we know of, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Saint Germain, Kuan Yin, Joan of Arc, etc., 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 etc. All these personages are examples to us of who we would like to be. They're examples to us that have been brought into our knowing about their existence and what they stood for and what they did. And so they're models, role models to assist you by just looking at their existence in the physical world, that you get a picture of what these people were about. And the continuation of their existence and their influence on you comes about when you are in acceptance, of that energy continuing to be involved in your existence. Excuse me.
Can I ask you a question, Michael?
Sure.
When you say the ancestors are sort of paving the way or have already sort of planned it out, should that take some of the sense of angst away?
Right on. Bingo. You hit it right on the head. See, the whole thing about the Hindu religion, why does the Hindu religion emphasize that you are not the doer? You are not the doer. So the Hindu religion emphasizes that for the purposes of making us understand a relationship between those who have passed, those who are in the spiritual realms, and ourselves. to come to the understanding that the act of creation is on a higher level. That act of creation, that energy of creation, is on such a high level that is massively intelligent, that all of the universes and planets and everything that you see in the sky at night, it doesn't bump into each other. And it has symmetry, it has synchronicity, and it has energy that impacts on the Mother Earth, the Pleiades, Orion, Sirius, on and on and on and on. All of these places have energetic relationship to the Mother Earth. And if we establish that relationship that I'm speaking of, then the angst factor should begin to reduce by virtue of the idea that the only responsibility that you have is the actual definition of the word responsibility, the ability to answer. So the ability to answer within the concept of the ancestors are arranging things is to hear the messages, is to see the subtle signs, is to be able to put in place exactly what's coming to you through your intuition. We get distracted away from our intuition, and we get ourselves into what I would call the frame of mind that you just identified, which is angst, because we feel it's our responsibility to make things happen. We think it's our responsibility to make things happen, where in fact, we're nothing but a conduit for things to happen. We are a vehicle through which things can happen. And as we develop that relationship with spirit on a higher level, on a higher spiral, then what we're doing is we're actually clearing the message passageway, and we're clearing away the obstacles that keep us away from a rich relationship with the other side, a rich relationship with our guides, and a rich relationship in essence with our ancestors. Life is an incredible gift. Life is an incredible existence. And when we get put into the box that the Matrix puts everyone in, the human beings, they put them in this box. And the box they put them in is, you're born and you die. That's it. You don't have anything else going on. So whatever you do between birth and death, that's your existence. That's not so. That is not your existence. You've been here before, you're here now, and you'll be here again. In what form? That's just the material existence. The essence of you is your soul, the self with a capital S, that needs to be fed. And there's the word, needs to be fed. And where is it going to be fed from? Not just your own mind. Because if it was just your own mind, it's not going to end well. It won't end well. Because you haven't established a relationship beyond yourself to understand the assistance that you can have in order to evolve your soul, in order to evolve who you are, the essence of your being. These things are known in the other realms. In those other dimensions, there's a higher level of intelligence going on because it's not strapped down to the material world, and it's not influenced by the propaganda that is thrown at humanity on a daily basis. So this idea that there is something else to your existence comes from within. It has to come from within. That's why we keep emphasizing all the time that it's an inside job, because I have to work on myself on the inside to make the vehicle clear and concise for the reception of things that will come in relation to my existence. No, I thought somebody had a question there, but no. I'd like to hear from just any one of you about your own experiences in terms of qualifying the idea of spirit's existence. Does anybody here have an example of what it is I'm speaking to? Come on. One of you has. If not all of you. Nobody's stepping up though.
Michelle's
Oh,
hand is up.
Michelle's.
Okay,
Yeah.
Michelle, go ahead.
I have a story, like you were talking about divine intervention. You were saying that the fact that you're still here is the reason that you believe in these ancestors interfering, like divine intervention. The same thing kind of happened to me. Like I had this story when I was living in Japan. There was this it's kind of hard to talk about. It happened a long time ago, around 2008. There was this really horrible incident in Japan in Akihabara. It's a place I used to go to a lot, where there was this mass murder. 7 people were killed and a lot of people were hurt. And I was supposed to be there on that day at the exact time that happened with my boyfriend. And for some reason, I changed my mind the night before. So ever since then, I've just been like, I knew that there had to be something out there.
That's it. Koryanka?
Yes, thank you. Well, I think that my experience can be something that many people can benefit from as well. It's not too difficult. As I have been spending a lot of time in my own healing at the beginning of the awakening of my spiritual awakening journey, I started to kind of put everything together, like look back on my life story as far as I could remember. And I started to realize how everything that I had experienced, seemingly bad stuff, difficult stuff, struggling, the good stuff, the education I got, the parents I got, the place where I lived before, everything started to make sense, how everything had prepared me to be an Incan priestess. Going through nursing school, working as a nurse for many years, and being able to work in the emergency room, all of the experiences, I was just amazed when I started to put everything together, how perfectly everything fit, and how I had been kind of positioned to do the sacred work with women from all over the world, an Incan priestess supporting medicine women, priestesses, to step up and be able to offer their sacred services from a place of healing, from a place of unity consciousness and awareness. I mean, everything. And this couldn't be planned by me or anyone that I know of. No human being here on earth could have given me all of those opportunities and experiences so that I could be prepared for this role. I didn't do this consciously. I just went through the motions oftentimes. I didn't know myself at the beginning of the journey. So there was a lot of stuff that kind of happened to me, or I accepted, but without understanding where all of this was leading. So I would really invite people to go through their own personal life review and see what has happened before, because that will give you clues as to where you're heading. You might not know. Sometimes people are really puzzled and they wonder, how is that they can be in their divine essence? How can they be themselves and serve in some meaningful way in this world? Well, really, you can find out if you do this kind of job of becoming a private investigator of your own life. You start to find out where you're at, where you have been, and then that gives you a great clue of where you're heading. So I would be curious to find out where you're heading. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie, Gail.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Michael. I just love to hear the things that you're saying, and I can resonate so much. I mean, there's been so many. I thank you for Karianka for saying to do a life review, because I think that is the key. Sometimes we go through things and we don't understand at the time, and it's only by going back and realizing, oh, this happened when this happened, when this happened, and just a short awareness, I guess, that I had, and before I wrote a book. I can't believe I even did that. Anyway, I had breast cancer at 32, and I remember the doctors saying to me, you will have difficulty lifting your left arm, and you will have to have chemotherapy and radiation, and you will have to do exercises to be able to mobilize your arm. That night, I prayed and I asked not to have to do that. And I swear to God, I had a dream. I had some help came by virtue of light, little sparks of light that came in around my arm. And I woke up the next morning. I wasn't the day that before, I wasn't able to lift my arm over my head. I was only like at 2 inches from my body. The next morning, I woke up and my arm was over my head. And I was telling the nurse, like, you don't understand. I'm not supposed to be able to do this. But in retrospect, I had the dream. And so obviously, the powers that be really came and really healed me by doing that. And so, yes, there are a lot more powers than we know. The other thing I want to just say is that there's acceptance, but there's also faith. You know, we have to have faith. My grandmother used to say this all the time: have faith. All will be well, have faith. And so what is faith? And I think we have to define that for ourselves. What is faith? And so whenever things get rough about all kinds of situations in our lives, I think, well, you know, go back to your faith and the belief that all will be well, and that we are not alone, and we have a lot of helpers, and we have those helpers, whatever those lights were that happened on my arm. That's a miracle. That is a miracle for sure. I never had to have any intervention after that. My arm was totally functional. I never had lymphedema, any of it. So I mean, that's just one miracle, right? And I'm still here, you know, how many years later? 34, whatever. You know, what am I, 39? So in my heart, I am. So there you are. So, you know, just thank you, Michael, because it just brings things to, yes, faith, you know, have faith that we have lots of helpers, and we must remember. Yeah,
Remember.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Michael. And I just wanted to add to the conversation that, you know, it's big things and little things, and we might not even know what are the big things and the little things. Like, it's this human mind, and you like to tease me about saying, I don't know. My I don't know is sort of turning it over to the idea that this small mind, ego mind, doesn't know. And I say it can be little things and big things that are showing up that the ancestors are arranging, because my example is being in a Zoom room a couple of months ago, and there was over 100 people in the Zoom meeting, and they threw us in breakout rooms, 2 people, and I met somebody who's now working for me as a fundraiser to go for a big project for my organization. Now, I think the ancestors arranged that. I mean, I don't know how I ended up in a Zoom room with one person who was the perfect fit for what I needed for my business in that moment. And our conversation, which was, we were given 8 minutes, 4 minutes each to chat. And we spoke again later that day, and we've been speaking weekly since, because now he's working for me. I couldn't have arranged it. I couldn't have thought of it. I didn't know that day going into that meeting. I believe the ancestors arranged it. It seems like a small thing. It's not, you know, at this moment in time anyway, anything life-changing or big, although it could be. And I think the ancestors arranged it. So I think it's a day-to-day life. I think it's so prevalent that we don't even realize that it's our day-to-day life that the ancestors are arranging. Even my mind changing about what order I'm going to do my day or decide not to go somewhere, like Michelle said, and then you're spared something. Like, I just think that it's not grandiose. It's like moment to moment in our lives. I think we have that level of support. And like you said earlier, I communicate and talk to Dad every day, and I feel I get a lot of guidance and support. And I think he's arranging things for sure. Thank you.
Dan.
So this brings into a thought of predestiny. How much predestiny actually exists? And there's a beautiful book by Pablo Coelho called The Alchemist. I'm sure many of you have read it. And I think our soul has a destiny, and it's programmed into this life. The problem is we never listen to it. Which brings me to my story in the sense that I had a major business failure back in my, I guess, early mid 30s that, kind of crushed my view of the world. And that's what sent me to Peru and started me on my spiritual path. And looking back, it's like, at the time it was a super painful experience, years of legal hell and money and all that other stuff. But it was also the best experience in my life because it set my life in the right path. It put me back on my destiny. And I think that, going to your point, to everyone's point, is that we just don't listen. It's like, constantly our the source, our soul, our spirit guides, whatever you want to call it, are talking to us nonstop and guiding us and nudging us here, nudging us there. The problem is our egos just don't listen. And so as we get our ego cleared out of the way and just trust in our higher selves destiny, then life actually becomes easy and just go with the flow. It's like, I don't know if anyone's ever surfed, but if you try to tell the wave what to do, you pretty much will end in the water very quickly versus just relax into it and feel the destiny and just let it take you where you're supposed to go.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Within this concept of the ancestors are arranging things, I agree with Dan. It brings in this concept of destiny, of what's it all about, Ralphie? Because in the end, what that speaks to is a divine plan. Do you have any concept that there is a divine plan for humanity? And if you have an idea that there is a divine plan for humanity, then that's where faith comes in. That's where hope comes in. That's where all of the emotions of, can it be? Is it possible that there is a destiny for humanity and it's good? It's not bad. It's good. And then you have to reflect on all these moments that you're all referring to. The moments where you're demonstrated, it's given to you, it's obvious. I have quite a few examples, but I'll give you one. I'm driving down Highway 7. An impulse comes to me as I'm approaching a road on the right. And there's a bus that's a transit bus taking people from Ottawa to Carleton Place. And it parks on the side of the road, blocking the view of the people that are driving this way. And as that scene unfolds in front of my eyes, I have an impulse that the guy who's behind the bus now, he has a stop sign, but something says to me, he's not going to stop. That's the impulse that came to me. He's not going to stop. And sure enough, he didn't. He just kept going straight across the highway. And I am now head on, sideways. I'm gonna T-bone this guy. And I grabbed the wheel as hard as I could, and I'm pulling as hard as I could, but now I'm waiting for that sound, the sound of two cars colliding. I'm waiting for the bang, and it doesn't happen. I go right around the guy. And when I go around him, I'm now faced with a vehicle directly in front of me who wants to turn left onto that road. Again, same thing. Crank as hard as I can, and I'm waiting for the inevitable bang. Didn't happen. Went right around him. Got up to the set of lights, and the guy behind me pulls up and he goes, "What?" And I go, "Angels. Angels." Because there's no doubt in my mind that there had to be a breath that just blew me a little bit past that one, and a breath that blew me just by the other one. It was head on both times. There was no mistaking it. It was head on. It was dead. But no, it didn't happen. These kinds of examples, I'm sure, have occurred to each and every one of you in some way, shape, or form. Michelle described it perfectly. You know, she had an impulse not to go. And boom, she's here with us today, not a statistic. So these are very powerful examples of why we should invest in our minds with the concept of our relationship to the ancestors. And on a daily basis, we should be acknowledging the existence of the ancestors. Imagine how much your life will be enhanced by that knowing. Go ahead, Koryanka.
I want to add that Michael's story of how he was saved by the ancestors in such a miraculous way is also happening for humanity today. It's been happening for who knows how many years already, and it's going to continue happening because the systems, certain people groups are not sometimes working in our best interest. And also there is human error. There are many reasons why things could have gone really, really badly for humanity already, and it hasn't. We still have time and opportunities to keep on choosing a better path for humanity. We still have the opportunity to work on ourselves, and by doing so, also impacting humanity in positive ways. How come do we get to have such an amazing opportunity, right? It's miracle after miracle after miracle. The ancestors taking care of humanity and supporting us and helping us as if we were their most beloved little children, like grandmas and granddads taking care of the little ones that sometimes don't know what they're doing. And, you know, that's us, you know, the little ones, but it's our responsibility to also grow up and learn to take care of ourselves and do better, being really on our path of evolution and growth as we are being guided to and supported to do that. So yes, there is something that belongs to us, something that is for us to do for ourselves, knowing that while we are learning our way through, we have had so much help from the ancient grandparents. I'm wondering also if Michael could help everyone understand better who we're talking about when we talk about the ancestors, because there are many of them. And of course, Michael could help clarify that for everyone, because not everyone is understanding maybe what we are talking about when we talk about the ancestors.
Sure. I'll come back to that, Koryanka. I'm just going to read what Celicia has to say in the chat because it's relevant, and then I'll come back to that. Celicia said this: "I'm guilty of not listening because I want to make my own way in life and paint my own picture. But I see Michael's point about how everything is already arranged, and we, people, are just the conduits for the plan. I see that now more than ever." Wow. That's an excellent point. One that needs to be pounded into our own psyche to come to that understanding. You're not the doer. You know, there used to be a mayor of the city of Ottawa. Her name was Marion Dewar. She's the only doer. The rest of us aren't. And then she goes on to say, I don't have one specific moment or incident to reflect the sense of the script is already written. More like what Sue said, that so many moments and or decisions had led me to be who I am, and to examine what I need to examine in this lifetime as perhaps insight for what I will need to understand for future lives. And then finally, she says, does anybody have trouble doing what you are told or guided to do because it seems too hard or preposterous? No, that's a big question. So let me just answer that question by saying, when we resist what we're being told, it will eventually happen because you can only resist for so long. The idea is that the guidance that's coming is meaningful. It's meant for moving ahead. And the questions, I'm not here to question. I'm only here to implement. I'm only here to act on what the messages are. So that ties into what Koryanka was saying with, like, who are the ancestors then? Who are they? And it varies for everyone. In my situation, I'm very, very tied to the indigenous concept of ancestors. I'm very, very tied to the idea of people who in the indigenous world were stars and have passed on, and yet their aura continues and messaging continues from them for various people, depending on how they're tied to them. But your ancestors can be your late father, your late grandfather, anyone in your soul group. Because in the end, it really comes down to your soul group. In your soul group, some are here in Mother Earth in existence, and part of your soul group is in the Bardo. So you have these places of interaction of people who were close to you in your previous life, people who were part of your soul group, and people that you've come upon that have influenced you very highly, such as for my existence and Susan's existence, it was Grandfather William Commanda, that we had such a heavy duty influence from a star, from someone who was a spiritual teacher, etc. But we also have relationships to the ascended masters. We have relationships to relatives who have passed. We all have relationships that if you reflect upon it, you'll begin to understand who your guides are. That's the key. I think it was Gail that said, it was Koryanka, you do a retrospective. You're doing an investigation. And in that investigation, you're coming up with answers, because guess what? When you're asking the question, your ancestors are answering, and you just have to listen, and you'll hear what it is that they're saying. In the end, have I fulfilled my mission in life if I brought myself to the point that what I want to do is assist others in their soul evolution? If I can get that into my mind, if that's exactly the way I feel, then I'm completing my mission, because that's what we're all here to do. We're all here to serve. We're here to serve each other. We're here to serve ourselves, and we're here to serve humanity. And that requires an evolution of self, capital S, an evolution of the soul, capital S, and an evolution of our understanding of the rich existence of humanity, both in physical life and in the spiritual realm. They exist simultaneously. And so within that simultaneous existence comes an opportunity to fulfill the divine plan and your destiny. We're now at the top of the hour. Does anybody have any questions before we sign off? Okay. Over to you, Greg.
All right, thanks, Michael, so much. I think we all got to participate in this conversation, and I hope everyone who gets the chance to watch this on YouTube also does. Excuse me. We always like to wrap up with the mantra of unification. Michael, are you up for that today?
Yeah,
If
Susan can put it up on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Susan, are you there? Oh, she sure is. Okay. Mantra of unification. The souls of all are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. Winacocha.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks, everyone. Just a reminder, you can visit our website to see all of the recordings of all of our different programs. Next time up is September 15th, and that will be an open mic session from what I understand. So a chance to bring forward all of your thoughts, ideas, concerns to the group. And we generally record it, but if there's anything that is controversial or would get us thrown off YouTube or get a strike against us, we won't do so. So that will really be up to the group. And I would just ask that if anyone feels the desire to donate to our group just to pay for our web development and marketing, feel free to do that. You can find the button on the website. Thanks again, everyone.